Aaronic Blessings, Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 to 27. This is the message right now. That's called the Aaronic Benediction or the Aaronic Blessing. And I was just explaining for the sake of the YouTube what my heart is, where my heart was. And that message is ready 2 months ago, actually. It was in my mind for December, for the new year ahead and so on. What we have been through in the church age in 2020 with the situation, I don't call it no COVID anymore because people are kind of tired of it. I call it the situation, is continuing right now, and I wanted to bring this message to you. And this message to you, I will use it to bless you at the end. That's the blessing of the high priest, and I will explain many things right now. So stay with me for the next 40-45 minutes here right now, okay? Simply because we watch the news. I watch the news occasionally, not very often, but I need to keep in touch what's going on in Israel and so forth. And many times I have heard by government officials and so on when they say to us, stay safe. Or even Christians like us, God bless you, John. God bless you, Olga. God bless you, my dear friend here. We say these things, whether we like it or not, from a human standpoint. Okay? When I say to Brandon, stay safe, as soon as he disappears across the corner, I need to shut down here. I'm not thinking about him going home right now if he will be hit by the car. I need to go back to my wife, go back to Sophia, and so on. That's a statement. These are statements that are coming from a finite mind. Indeed, I wish that he stays safe, but I'm not his guardian, though. God is. I wish that all of you will be blessed. That's why I ask you, bless the new year and so on. But it's from a human standpoint that we say this, okay? Same with basically Job in the book, or God bless you, and so on and so forth, and we don't know what will be happening. Today, for 2021, I will be using the Aaronic Blessing. This is your Numbers 22 to 27. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and so on. To teach the God bless you and stay safe from the eyes of God, from an infinite mind, an infinite power. I'm going to teach it from God's perspective, what He has in mind for me and you, not me towards you. Okay? So the perspective will not be from the Christendom, which is the broader Christianity, embracing all the cults and so on. It will not be from any denominational standpoint or perspective, not even from a pastoral perspective, because I'm a finite man. I'm a sinful person exactly like you are. So I drop the ball occasionally, but from what God meant when He said these things. As far as blessing the people of Israel, we will look at this from God's perspective, from God's viewpoint. The blessing of the Aaronic blessing that you have there, it's under the law. When I send you to Numbers, that's under the law. The Mosaic Law was already given at Mount Sinai in the book of Exodus, and now they're going towards the land. It was meant to impress upon the people, upon Israel, the seal of perfection upon the whole order of God's people before they move in the land. That's why you have a high priest. It's Aaron with all the outfits. So God is above in His perfection, and He was looking at the seal of perfection upon men by what He charged them to say. It's a very high blessing in the Hebrew language. We will see that in a moment. It is crucial here to understand that these words are given to Israel's nation, and it does overflows upon us, the church. We cannot steal these words, because these words comes from the priesthood, not the priesthood of Roman Catholicism, but the priesthood of Israel. It doesn't exist anymore. It was under the institution of the law, but it overflows upon us simply because we have become partaker with them in the blessings of God. So I'm very much allowed to bless you with the same blessing, or even to paraphrase it, because we're not under the law. So we should be grateful for these words, avoiding two extremes. I'm giving you two extremes to avoid here. It's to avoid the fleshly attitude of it, the fleshly God bless you or the ritualism. You will see that old God taught me how to say it in Hebrew, and I would like to have it memorized. While you were not here in the room with me, I said I should memorize it on top of my head instead of reading it like I will do at the end of the message to you. But again, there is a danger, an extreme to avoid. It's that it may become a ritualistic issue without having in the heart of the person, we just sang, grace have come and so on, the last song that we sang, that I was doing the here. It's good when you pray something to make sure that the heart is in it. In Roman Catholicism, in Anglicanism, in Lutheranism, day in, day out, they quote Matthew chapter 6, what they call the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Ask the people, what does it mean, hallowed be thy name? Complete lost. Because it has become a prayer repeated and repeated in a ritualistic way without necessarily knowing the meaning of it. And tonight, my goal with you as the first message of the year is to use this and to make a deeper meaning of it without necessarily knowing it by heart. And if you want to learn it in English on top of your heart, I will be blessed by that. It's one extreme to avoid. The second extreme to avoid, it's replacement theology. This is all belong to me because we are the new Jews, so that's a prayer for us, which is false teaching, and we need to avoid these things. We're not the new Jews, and we're not replacement theologians, at least not here. Let's pretend for a moment that we are the new Jews here. You ask the Christian today, if I say to you, you are the new Jews, and you ask the Christian at large, or the average Christian, if I can use that word for lack of better words, what's the Shekinah glory? You don't even know that. So if you are a new Jew, know your stuff. Okay? So it's one extreme, again, to avoid. And tonight, it's the introductory material. I want to make sense of that blessing because this is a beauty. The word bless in Hebrew is beraka. Beraka? Okay? This is the word bless in the Old Testament. It means to endue. E-N-D-U-E, with power for success. It's basic, both spiritually, physically, prosperity, fecundity, longevity, and name it. That's a basic word for blessing. In general, the blessing is transmitted from the greater to the lesser. The greater is the one that bless, like here, it's the word of Jehovah in a moment of time here. That's the greater God that blessed his people Israel. And here you have the priesthood, Aaron, blessing the people, the common people. That's the case in Numbers chapter 6. Blessing usually is from the greater to the lesser. And do you know what? Another piece of information about Beraha, or whatever the name is, it's related to the knee also. Because the word knee is closely connected to the word. So in 2 Chronicles, that's why Solomon went on his knees to bless the people, lifting up his arms to heaven. 2 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 13. So just to let you know that there is some kind of a connection between blessing the people and the knee. Same word, basically. Before we move on with the blessing, let me say a few words about the book of Numbers, where we find it. Okay? Just a few words about the book of Numbers. Because the book of Numbers is COVID-19 also. It's 40 years of wilderness wandering. 40 years of eating manna. No such a thing as a burger, pizza, pretzels, and chips, and dip for the chips and so on, and fish and chips. So basically, the title of the book of Numbers in Hebrew is Bemidbar, in the wilderness. That's the name of it in Hebrew. They use the first sentence. The book of Numbers, before we get into it, was written for three main purposes. Okay? The book of Numbers explains why we need the 40 years delay of entering the land. I'm not giving you more details than that. Okay? Secondly, it's a preparation for the people of Israel to enter the land. because right now they are just at the border of the Holy Land here in Kadesh Barnea, and once they pass the Kadesh Barnea, they get into the Promised Land, and then they will build the temple, and Aaron will bless the people in the way that God wants to bless them. And thirdly, it's a book that contains two warnings here. The warning of presumption here, taking things for granted. Taking God for granted, and we do sometimes take God for granted. And the sin of unbelief. This is why we have the book of basically Hebrews that talk about a lot about the book of Numbers and the consequences of unbelief. The theme of the book, very rapidly, it's consequences of disbelief and disobedience to a holy God and divine discipline. It's in the book of Hebrews. The book of Numbers talks about the goodness of God and the severity of God. Right now, this earth is under judgment. So it's God's justice, God's severity, and while He is severe in some ways, as we have seen in the book of Isaiah, last night is still very much loving. And that's why we do what we have to do here. While He is loving, He is always justice and can be severe at times. Keep always in your heart a good balance between His attributes. I'm not here every Thursday night or Sunday morning to tell you that God loves you. It's a fact, He does love you. But He is also justice, and He does not like sin. Now I'm getting closer to the core of the message. Let me make a few observations that are kind of funny to know about the passage that I want to preach. Are you with me? Are you sure? Okay, now I'm making just a few fun, interesting observations about the Aaronic blessing, and have this in your notes here. You can write on it. This is your half-pager. In what we will see, Olga will be in charge of the PowerPoint. We will see 3 sentences, each one containing 2 clauses in the Hebrew language, with Jehovah, okay, we need to use the word Jehovah tonight, being always the object in the sentences. Number 2, in the Hebrew language, not in your Bible in English, there is a build-up in consonants. It goes like this in verse 25, 15 consonants, up to 20, and then to 25. There is a build-up in consonants. Number 3 observation, there is a study build-up in Hebrew in words, okay? Based upon 24, 25, and 26, the verse, there is a study built up in words. It goes from 3 words to 5 to 7. And the Hebrew people, the rabbi, they came up, first one, 3 for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's completely rabbinic. Number 5, why 5 in verse 20? In verse 25, it's because of the 5 books of Moses. And number 7, they count it for the 7 firmaments, because for them they're kind of 7 heavens. So that's why, but it's purely rabbinic. That's why I'm giving you that figure right now. Number 4, each line, Jehovah is the subject, followed by 2 verbs. You want that part right now. Followed by 2 verbs. So you have the first verb, like here, bless, and then you have the second word, and the second verb builds upon the first one. It builds upon it. And this is the blessing of God that He wants to bestow upon you. Having said this, are you ready to move? Yeah. Are you ready with me? So you go in your Bible and go to verse 24. The first sentence is this. It goes from bless to keep. That covers the first sentence. Second sentence. It goes from His face to shine upon you, and it builds up and be gracious unto you. The third sentence goes as such. Lift up His countenance and give you peace. So these are verbs, to lift up, to give you peace, and the second verb builds upon the first one, and so on. Okay? And once again, I want to avoid the trap of ritualism. You probably won't memorize it, but my goal tonight is to give the assurance to you and explain to you in His blessing what God has for you. This is not for yesterday. This is not for today. This is not for the future. This is for all the time. That's His desire for you and I. And you will realize in a moment of time that you are quite safe. This is a model. And this is something that I will bless you for the 52 next Thursdays. I will paraphrase it. But I will bless you with this for 52 Sundays in one form or another. Because we are allowed to paraphrase it. And it's not a necessity to say it all the time like the Jewish people do with losing its meaning. And when we'll see, respecting Olga here because of their Jewishness, that they use a substitute that I'm refusing to use tonight. I will explain that to you later. Okay? It needs to be prayed from the heart without a substitute, because the usage of the substitute to reverence God does not necessarily place you in Messiah. You can reverence God as much as you want, but if you are not in the Messiah, the ball is dropped. Even in the willingness to revere. That's what I want to explain. Its purpose is clear, the purpose of the blessing. It communicates Jehovah's desire to invest or endue His people with His name upon them. In Revelation 22 verse 4, one day you will have the name of God on you. And in that blessing, that's He wanted to see. He wanted to endue this to His people. We begin the exposition to this. Come with me in verse 22. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, here you have the word of Jehovah to Moses. It's one of the divine oracle. That's all I have to say about verse 22. Verse 23, speak to Aaron and to his sons, consequent sons here, because of the Aaronic priesthood, saying, thus you shall bless the sons of Israel, you shall say to them. Now, the command here is to Aaron and to his son to continue to bless as long as the Mosaic covenant was in force here. In verse 23b, it says, you shall say to them. So that's the command itself, and now we start the exposition on these things right away. I missed the order of my paper. 7. What have I done with this? Okay. Beautiful. First sentence. Okay. Now we're there. Are you with me still? You sure, Olga? Okay. Jehovah bless you, and so on. Would you say that for us? Evarechecha. So, okay. It is the most general word for the word blessing said from Jehovah here. Like I said, and I repeat, it involves both material and physical. This is not prosperity gospel that God wants you rich, because there is always the poor around, but He wants to bless you materially and physically with what we are allowed to have and be content with it. God provides all good things for His chosen ones. I went fast on this one. God provides all good things for His chosen ones. You are not chosen as a nation, but you are very much chosen as an individual. I look at you tonight. Everybody is dressed more than properly. We have everything we need, and that's the desire of God. And learning a contentment to say, I have enough, and so on. Be content with what we have. That's the word bless. I call it A for now, the word bless. And the second verb builds upon it, and keep you. Now, the way the first verb bless is expounded here, the building upon, is seen as in the way of protection that we all need right now. The protection that should be displayed from us in the situation that we are in right now. He wants to protect you. He wants to guard us. He wants to keep us safe. Never understood by Israel. Never understood. It's in the same chapter that a few chapters later, in chapter 11 and 12, that if I'm not mistaken, that they will send the spy and they will come back with a false report. We have seen the Nephilim in the land. There was no Nephilim in the land. It was a lie from the majority. So they never fully embrace the command of God right now. I will bless you and I will protect you, keep you safe even in the battles to come under Joshua. That generation of the wilderness wandering never understood the importance of that blessing. Keep in mind that based on Colossians chapter 3, verse 3, your life is hidden in Christ. Nothing can happen to you outside of His will. Even in the situation of today, we are not in the wilderness wandering. So we cannot relate to the people of Israel when they were in the wilderness wandering one meal a day and having no water. But the people of Israel cannot relate to us with the infection and the COVID-19 going around. So this message is not meant this morning, this evening, to tear down. It's meant to build you up. That's what He wants. When I will say to you, bless you, Terry, here, blessings upon you, He means way higher. I am not Terry's protector. Sometimes you're wondering, I went to the church and I was late tonight because Krista always liked to be earlier than that. God, if He knows that you're going to have an accident at the intersection of the airport or whatever the case could be in Nanaimo, can very much cause the phone call to come right on time to delay you 10 minutes because He is safeguarding you. So, Krista, you will be late 10 minutes and you don't like it. Not at all. But God has decided so because there was somebody on the way that you need to avoid for that perspective. I'm not exaggerating even a tiny bit. My plane is delayed. Who cares apart from you? Okay? Not saying that it's always the case, but this is the type of God that wants that type of protection for you and I. Do you desire that for the people, Brendan? No, not to that extent. We're finite. Verse 25. The second line. Make Jehovah make His face shine upon you. That's the Shekinah glory. Psalm, don't go, stay there. Psalm chapter 80. If you want to go, you're going to need to be fast because I'm not going to wait in that case. Psalm chapter 80 verses 3 here. O God, restore us and cause your face to shine upon us and we will be saved or delivered. Verse 7 here. O God of hosts, restore us and cause your face to shine upon us and we will be saved. Same with verse 19 here. The emphasis of that very sentence right there, Jehovah make His face shine upon you. What's the emphasis of it? It's the fact that He is light. And light is a title for the Messiah. God does not have light. He does not have light. He is light. So if He has light, He can run out of it. But He is light. That's an attribute of God of being friendly towards men, providing salvation. He has decided, Lee, you will see light. And bang. That's what we call regeneration, salvation. He has decided one morning, 26 years ago, François, you will see light. In His light, we see light. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 7 talks about the sun, S-U-N, being pleasant. A couple days ago, was it yesterday or the day before? It was a sunny day. I went with the Sophia at the park. You should have seen the face of the few people at the park right behind the church here, not Nazarene. There was the park here downtown, close to downtown, right behind anyway, a park by the big, the road that you go up and there is a park, a playground there. Because the sun is pleasant to the eyes after much darkness, how much more the divine light of His countenance, the everlasting light, that's the sum of all delight. It should be for us in 2021, the fact that you have the Shekinah glory residing in you. It resides in you right now, never abode universally in all the Old Testament saints. It should be the epitome of your joy here. We call it basically the sum of all your delight. The second sentence, and be gracious unto you. Here, say it, Olga. Okay, be gracious to you. It's the building up here. It's basically building up on the first one. It's to find the complete favor, the eternal security. There is one thing, and you have heard me saying that often here in teaching and in preaching like tonight. The segment of Christianity that teaches the losing of salvation is nothing else than completely shameful. Shameful. Demonic teaching. If God has chosen you and me, I don't have any power given to me, any power in the heavenlies to undo the work of God. He has bought you back with a price that is unfathomable. How much more He will never lose you. Walk your walk right now, beloved, and François included, displaying this on your face. Your peace, your security, despite anything that can happen to you. That's to be gracious, because His face to shine upon you, it's to cause salvation. The light of the world, the light that lit up the world before the creation of the moon and the stars and the sun, they were created on day 4. Where was the light coming from day 1, 2, and 3? That was the Shekinah glory light abides in you. So if He has made His tabernacle, His dwelling place within me, do you think that He will leave the temple like He did in the time of Solomon, Ichabod? Okay? He won't here. So it's full of grace, security. God make one full of grace in the eyes of others. That's what He wants. You should notice the last sentence that I said. God make you full of grace in the eyes of others. But right now, as we speak, the Christians are scared like any other. This is not what we display. I'm not saying to be disrespectful to the people. But beloved, on Zoom, not Zoom, but YouTube right now, and you in front of me, present physically here, you have been chosen. Nothing can touch you before your time. We should rejoice at least in these things. Smile. Throw a smile. Be kind to the people. Verse 26 and last. Jehovah lift up His countenance upon you. Yes, c'est panav. May Jehovah lift up His countenance upon you. I'm going to give you a fleshly example of it not fleshly, but from man here. Genesis 43:29. Genesis 43:29, when I send you to Genesis chapter 43, it's Joseph in front of his brothers when they returned to Egypt to buy grain and so on. And Joseph said to his brothers, 11 brothers, if you don't bring Benjamin to me, you're not going to go back. I need to see Benjamin. And in 43, verse 29, the Pharaoh, equal to Pharaoh, Mr. Joseph, said in 29 here, because that's the same meaning in Hebrew. And he lifted up his eyes. And he lifted up his eyes. And he lifted up his eyes and saw brother Benjamin, his mother's son. So basically he had the full crowd in front of him, your Benjamin tonight. And he looked at all the brothers. But now Benjamin, and he lifted up his countenance upon Benjamin, meaning a favor, a younger son type of thing. That's exactly what happened to you with God here. It means to pay attention, to give approval. Benjamin. Not Brendan. They were his brothers also. They did Judah. Benjamin. Give him a double portion. And change his little Benjamin. Am I right? Benjamin. So when he looks at you, even prior to salvation, he knows you. Olga. He lifts up his Olga. He lift up His countenance upon you. And you have noticed me every time that I start the meeting, Father, lift up your countenance upon what we do, the way we worship you and the way we teach and what we teach. It's to pay attention, to give approval, to look upon with loving care and favor. When you see your child, when I go to pick up the baby at the daycare, there is other kids, but baby, Sophia, La Plune, this is the nickname. And you look upon the child with favor. The emphasis is for God to turn His attention towards you. It's already done. Oh, I will behave good, so He will lift up His countenance upon me. No. It will mean lifting up His countenance based upon your performance. He is not lifting up His countenance upon me because I perform. Otherwise, He would take His face away. Esther panim in Hebrew. So, the emphasis is to turn His attention towards you. It's already done. So, be secured. Put His glasses on and tarry. You're Terry, aren't you? Love you, brother. Child. Okay? It's the opposite of the hiding of the face. That's why the Jews, these guys, they call the Holocaust the hiding of the face. That God hid His face from them, and the Hebrew word is Esther panim. The hiding of the face, panim, it's a plural word because it's two cheeks type of thing. That's it. Yes, panam, the lifting up of the countenance. And the second sentence, and give you peace here. Okay, it builds up here. So the end product of all the message that I gave you for the last 30 minutes should be one thing when you pass the door. Shalom. Shalom. Relax. Work, but relax. Inner peace. I'm going to give you all the variety. The emphasis of shalom, it's harmony with God and man. Also the inward state of the soul. Be at peace among yourself. We don't need division of the church here. We don't need to divide the church. It's too small. I will end up being myself. Relax, be at peace among love, the most unlovable among us. Not everybody here is lovable the same way. Krista, I'm not talking about you, am I? Krista and I had that moment, but we love one another type of thing. It's beautiful. Shalom has a broad variety of usages within the mindset of the Jews. Safety, security, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, tranquility, contentment, friendship, peace with others, peace with God, and salvation. It's broad, the famous word shalom, which is a greeting. I conclude. This blessing is not meant to be recited or said heedlessly, like the model of prayer of Matthew, the Lord's Prayer. This blessing is to be manifested in His beloved with all the power of a blessing from Jehovah. That's what He meant towards us. It was given to Israel. That's what they should have displayed, and they did not. If we want to be good stewards of the faith, that's what the church should display in our walk, as in general. Israel failed to do so apart from the remnant. There Christ came and they rejected. They always trust in themselves apart from the remnant. And I'm not an anti-Semitic teacher here. But we have lessons to learn from the book of Numbers. He wanted to bless that way. God, folks, I have you in the wilderness for 40 years. Your sandal never worn out. You've been fed. You drank water from the brook, from the miracle, water from the rock with Moses. Relax. I'm bringing you to the only land here, and I will keep you. Perhaps, I'm leaving you with that sentence before I bless you, and one song here. Perhaps it would be your New Year resolution. Forget about losing weight. Not going to work for 1 month only. After that, we're back into chips mode and peanuts and so on. Make it your new resolution. Read Numbers chapter 6, 24, 22 to 27. Make it your own. In the crisis, I'm going back to the introductory material here without reviewing everything here. It's not getting better. They isolate in Quebec, curfew. Ontario, the biggest province, the biggest city in Canada, they have been shut down and the numbers are still increasing. Okay? So the hope for 2021, I wish you the best within my capacity, but he wishes you this. Concentrate on this, and you will see the rest falling into place as we get older and closer to him. Okay? So I'm done. Would you stand up with me, please? Brandon, thank you so much, brother.